In this second hour, we talk about the role of the 13th Parliament, which now, after the President's address to the House yesterday, it adjourned and they will now begin proper business. Before we welcome our guests to the show, CT has the proverb.
Yes, it's a final proverb from the country of Niger, whose capital is Niamey, whose president is Mohamed Bazoum, and
the Prime Minister is?
The president is Ohumahudu Mohamedou. Yes, those are the names. This one sounds like a compound name. Anyway, the final proverb from Niger. You cannot shave a man's beard in his absence.
In his
Sense. Unanyoa ndevu jamaa akiwa hapo hapo tu. There's nothing remote about it. Ako hapo ndio ananyolewa ndevu. Yes.
Okay. Now, let's welcome our guests. The Honorable ZAHEER JHANDA is the Member of Parliament representing the people of Nyaribari Chache in the National Assembly. The people of Nyaribari are quite lucky with this show, right? Yeah. Just the other day we had Masaba. Today we have Chache. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you. It is actually really hot.
Not yet, man. It's just welcome and breakfast. Chache, again, let's remind us, we keep forgetting. Chache is east or west?
Western.
Chache is west.
Yes.
See, Edna was telling us north. Yeah. Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
You were elected on an UDA ticket.
That's right.
How many other members of the National Assembly on UD are there from
the whole
Kisii,
county?
Nyanza?
The whole county of Kisii, we have 9 constituencies. We have 4 members of parliament from Kisii County under UDA, and of course the rest are coming from different political parties, and of course we also have I think independent. Yeah.
Okay. It's your first time in Parliament?
Yes, of course, it's my first time to sit in Parliament, but it's my 3rd attempt.
Okay.
To be a member of the National Assembly.
Why Parliament?
You know, Parliament, the basic function of a legislature is to make laws. And I feel that my people, they really need change in my place, because the level of poverty is on another level. So I was really trying very hard, hoping that I will come up with new ideas, new programs, you know, to engineer how we will change the lives of my people in Kisii County, especially my constituency, which is hit hardest on the issues of poverty.
Why is
and
it?
Underdevelopment.
Okay. Why is it that the constituency that you now represent
Yes.
has been the hardest hit? What is it that is unique about that constituency?
I think it is because of bad leadership, in my view.
Yes.
Because you can see that is the constituency I'm representing is a little bit famous, because previously it was the late Honorable Simeon Nyachai. He was the member of parliament. And when he was there, of course, he was in government at that time. There's quite a lot that the late Mzee did for the people. Thereafter, there's been some challenges for the ones who've been there before.
What would you say are some of the changes that the late Simeon Nyachai brought to that constituency?
Well, at that time, there was he helped tarmac the roads in some areas, but you know, it's been a long time from that time until now. The roads are really in
bad state.
They are really horrible now. They are really in a very pathetic and horrible state. So I am hoping that given this mandate, I am really hoping to make a difference to my people.
So what is it that, for example, would lead to the dilapidation of roads? Is it lack of budgetary allocation for roads in the constituency? Is it lack of proper representation? What would lead to that?
To
is
me,
it national neglect by the national government?
As a person, I think it is lack of proper representation, because sometimes you can find like the leader that is there, he has misplaced priorities. How do you buy, for example, like a school bus for a school that doesn't have a toilet, that doesn't have a proper road to actually even use that bus to go there. So I think, to me personally, I think it's just misplaced priorities. You first, in my case, I will probably first do the road, work with the national government, and make sure that we have enough, allocation of the budget to do the roads in my constituency, because it is the work of the member of parliament to run to government offices. You just don't sit and wait and just push on things. So I feel like the guys who've been there probably before, they really didn't do much as such.
I see the sense of the representation, knocking on doors, going to
That's
Kera,
right.
going to Kura,
That's
going
right.
to Kera, knocking on doors.
Correct.
But it starts from, has there been proper allocation of the budgets to go to these institutions and that have enough money to do the roads in your area? Because I sort of fear that when we hear members of parliament all the time talking about, I knocked on doors and went and spoke to this and the other, it's like you're seeking tokenism. It's, if it's how loud you become and how well you relate with a honcho at Kera or Kura that determines how much you get for your people.
I really don't think so, Eric, because I believe that it is your constitutional right as a leader and for the people who elected you, whether in my constituency or any other constituency within the country. I think in Kiswahili tutasema ni uzembe tu, like someone just probably, you have to really, really push hard, because you are not the only one who's looking for those roads. We have almost 290 members of parliament. They're all going to knock the doors, so you really have to do it harder. You can't just sit and just go and say, and wait for a miracle to happen. No.
You talk about the fact that you said, look, you wanted to come in and help your people, and then we see, roads being one of those issues. How would then legislatively, because that's the things that we're looking at, right? Legislation,
That's
representation, oversight.
That's right.
How would you bring about more change? How would you make sure that truly the lives of the people of Nyaribari Chache are elevated beyond roads? Because it seems to be almost like a buzzword that everybody uses now, We're going to make sure that the roads are sorted. But I think that there's a lot more.
That's right, Indu.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I can say this, it's just not the roads. Roads was just an example that I was giving. Like bursaries also, we have issues. We have big challenges. There's a lot of, in my place, there is a lot of clanism. People are elected based on the clan they represent or they come from. I was never elected based on that. I was elected on the platform of my development programs, plans, and how much we relate with the people, the grassroots people, Now, for example, when we're talking about bursaries, you find, like in my constituency, people were being given bursaries of 2,000 shillings. How on earth you will give 2,000 shillings? What is it going to help, And those are some of the challenges. And when I was campaigning, I told these guys that it is possible. We are going to change the structure of issuing of such, like the bursaries and whatever. And I promised to increase the bursaries from the 2,000 to a minimum of 10,000 to a maximum of 15,000 shilling. That will probably work very well. And that means we have to really, really scrutinize and make sure that the beneficiaries of the bursaries are the genuine people. What happens in my constituency is that they have like 1,000 names, for example, but they are just hot air. Out of the 1,000, you probably find there are about maybe 500 cases which are very genuine. The rest, they probably pocket and do their whatever.
So how would you vet that?
We will
And make everybody feel that, yes, the final list that's come out.
One of the
are
things
most
that
desirable.
I want to do is to digitalize the whole thing, and of course I will ensure and make sure that the people that I am going to appoint in those bursary committees are people of high integrity and people of people who can absolutely work without any coerce or coercion or something like that. Yeah.
But it's still just unlimited. There's the amount of money that goes to bursaries is capped in
That's
the
right.
CDF.
That's right.
You only have about, what, 30 million shillings a year?
About 35 million.
35 million to give out to bursaries. So my question is, how do you go back to the people and then make them feel that this 35 million is only going to the most needy, most deserving?
That's right.
And let them feel that they actually participated in identifying the most deserving.
As I can tell you today, when we went for the induction, we were being taken through. So we had the CBK governor, we had the police, the deputy inspector general. We also had the CEO of CDF, you know, so he took us through and explained to us. Like in my constituency, I have 6 wards. They have already increased the CDF allocation from 137 to 155 million. So it has gone up. So I will definitely work on that.
You have about a lot more.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I think every time we see that there's a new parliament in place, 5 years after, and we seem to keep looking at the same things. I mean, you've talked about some. What would you say would be, even if it is 1 or 2, things having never been done before that the people of this particular area complain about that has never actually been sorted out? What would you say those would be, and how would you then guarantee that they would actually be done? I'm sure there were many promises made during campaigns.
Of course, yes.
Now, speaking realistically and saying, truth be told, this is what we can actually do and make sure that it's actually done. What would those be?
Indu, I'm going to tell you something. Yes, I totally agree that in the last election, we honestly, as politicians, of course, promise people, like when you meet a lady, you promise her that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that for you and this and that. Now, how you're going to judge me on that is that, for example, in the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza, it was very clear cut that the president promised that we are going to have the Hustlers Fund. This is something that has never been there. In my constituency, I have a budget allocation of about 155 million every financial year. With the Hustlers Fund coming on board, we will probably have about an extra about maybe 200 million shillings. So already I am looking at almost 400 million, which means the budget that I will use, like the previous administrations, for 5 years, I have a budget of 4 years in 1 year. So that will change a lot.
Okay.
That's right.
But the Hustler Fund is not to be used for development. It's for the youth to access, or the hustlers to access.
That's right.
This fund.
Okay. Let me put it very clear. The rate of unemployment, the rates of youth doing nothing is very high. Especially, I'm talking about my constituency. When the Hustlers Fund come in, that money is going to be allocated to the mama mbogas, to the bodas, to all these guys, and we can sit down and agree on a not a provision, but on a way how we can also use part of that money for development. Not really develop, I don't know how to put it, like ya kuchangia katika maswala ya kusaidia Pandia CDF. For example, let me put it very clear.
Okay.
We have a Hustlers Fund of 200 million, let us assume, right?
Yes.
Now, this Hustlers Fund, the committee that is going to be there, we are going to look into that, how we will use part of that money to help sort out some of the issues, vijana na wamama. So it will help. It will help.
Okay, I haven't understood. What is the plan for the Hustler Fund? Is it like a fund where you, as a hustler, either individually or as a group, as a company, you go and borrow so that you can inject in your business and you repay? Or is it a grant that you take money and you don't repay?
It's more of like a grant.
So you take money, you don't have to pay?
No. you will pay.
You pay.
Without any form of interest.
Okay.
For a period of, let's say, 2 years, 3 years, or something like that.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. So then now you're saying that you shall see how then that can be used to also be put into projects that
in my own, as a member of parliament, I will sit down with the team, including the guys from government, like the county commissioners. We will sit down and see how best we can work together, if it works.
Okay.
Of course, we can't do without following the due process of the law.
The president yesterday talked about the NGCDF. Says, well, I know it does a lot, but we have heard the Supreme Court and what the Supreme Court has said, and also saying we respect the rule of law. How do you think CDF can be reworked for it to be retained? Is it possible to retain CDF in any form?
I will be very honest, Eric. In my understanding, and as a member of parliament, the 2013 CDF Act had some issues, and that is the one that the Supreme Court is talking about. I mean, nullified or something like that, right?
Declared unconstitutional.
Unconstitutional.
Right.
Thanks. The NGCDF 2015 is still very much
Is alive.
Is alive and kicking. Yeah.
How different is it from the 2013 one?
Bado hapo sijasomea hiyo ndani sheria sana. So
there are those that argue, because there's a case
deeper.
still before the High Court. If the High Court goes and says even the NGCDF Act of 2015 goes against the principles of the Constitution.
That's right.
In that an elected member of parliament who should be playing the role of oversight and legislation
That's right.
is still involved in a development role.
Yes.
What would you propose that then happens?
Well, of course, Parliament, as members of Parliament, we will amend, or we will craft something that will work with the law.
Actually, this one may be trickier because you are asking for a change in the Constitution for this to actually make sense. And I don't see why we cannot think about changing the Constitution. After all, the Constitution is supposed to help us. If it doesn't benefit us in the way that we want, perhaps we should think of ways in which that particular element of the Constitution can be changed, or how that very decision can be overturned using that same constitutional court, the Supreme Court, because it can happen.
Okay.
The example I give is the Roe versus Wade case in the U.S., where the Supreme Court actually overturned a decision that they had made. But you see, their Supreme Court acts on a certain law called stare decisis, meaning prior decisions have to be maintained. It doesn't matter which new judges come in, but that prior decision is what is now determined and is what is used by the lower courts to make decisions. But it can be changed. And the way you can change it is that is talking about the Supreme Court in America. A case can be brought before that particular court, a different case, but involving similar issues. Now, in our case, I am certain there are ways in which a Supreme Court decision can be overturned by the same court.
Okay.
So, if it's the argument is that this is what our Constitution says, then you say, okay, fine. Why don't we go back to that Supreme Court and find out how we can change this very thing? Because I am of the view that the CDF is important.
Absolutely. That's right.
Yes.
Very, very important.
I am of the view that the CDF should not go anywhere. That is my view.
It is the MP who should go.
You know, sometimes I don't even think it's a question of the MPs. It's like the argument we've had regarding our governors. I am of the view that the problem sometimes is that people are given jobs which are beyond their competencies. Someone talks nicely, talks fast, is likable, and they're given a job of governor. But the job of governor doesn't involve talking fast and being liked. It's a question of how that person is able to actually manage an entire county, and some can't. Some do the same thing at the level of MP. They talk nicely and they're liked. They even sing, and then they can form a whole choir at a rally. Then you give them the job of actually managing that position, and they don't know what to do. Yes, so I am reluctant to blame the MP. It's just the learning curve you cannot tell someone's ability until sometimes they've got the job.
Actually, it's not even about the ability of the MP. It's about the separation of powers and the roles, right? It's when I said maybe what you just need to do is find out how the MP maintains an arm's length association relationship with CDF is because of that. CDF is development. It is an executive role. Member of Parliament is an oversight role. Now, how do you make sure that there is that clear separation of powers?
Actually, the lazy approach that the MPs, you're new, so this doesn't involve you yet.
That's right.
Give it a year to involve you.
Then it will involve you.
Is that the lazy way is to look at ways in which you can quickly change something because you have the ability to do so in Parliament. Whereas the less lazy way would be to perhaps give it a holistic approach and ask those hard questions. How do we ensure that we don't tinker with the Constitution? And how then do we also achieve the same thing? How do we provide this balance? And how do we also ensure that we are not crossing swords with these issues that are at hand? Now, that is a far more difficult task. And it requires an understanding, it requires a lot of consultation. But the previous Parliament, by the way, I didn't see them going into that sort of bother.
And you think the 13th one will do that?
Well, the thing is, I am not going to judge them until I see what they're going to do.
Okay.
Give us time.
Let's give them time.
Oh, not too much, by the way.
Yeah.
You have 3 months. You guys said you are, to give you 100 days.
Yes.
3 months.
That's right.
So right now, we are buddies. Everything is okay. After 3 months,
Probation.
3
month
everything is
probation.
okay now. You say we say sour. We say sour. 3 months.
3 months. Tutapatana.
Yes.
It's 29 minutes after 7. Let's take a break. The Honorable ZAHEER JHANDA is the Member of Parliament for Nyaribari Chache constituency, elected on an UDA ticket. He's here. We're talking about the 13th Parliament. We are talking about his plans of representing the people of Nyaribari Chache, but also reminding him that he is sitting in the National Assembly. So the role that you're going to play in legislation, in oversight, and in representation, and all those things, that's what we're discussing. You look fit, Mheshimiwa. You exercise quite a bit.
Yes, I
yeah,
do, a lot.
so you plus athlete, same WhatsApp, same name, same sentence. They fit. Tomorrow is October 1st. 30th of October, we're all going to be running on the Southern Bypass. The Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon takes place on that day.
All right.
Have you participated in it before?
No.
This is your first chance, in fact. First time, represent the people of Nyaribari Church
At the marathon.
at the
I'm
marathon,
telling you.
right?
It's the first time
And
for
they can
everyone.
also actually participate even in Nyaribari itself,
Okay.
because it's a virtual run as well.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The conversation continues. This is the Situation Room on SpiceFM, on KTN Home and online. Eric Latif Ndu Oko CT Muga. Our guest this morning is the newly elected Member of Parliament representing the people of Nyaribari Chache in the National Assembly, the Honorable ZAHEER JHANDA. We are talking about the role of the Parliament, the 13th Parliament, in oversighting the executive. So the President spoke before you in Parliament yesterday, and he said a number of things. Let's just start from this, the light moment that he had when you were describing how the Deputy President became the opposition candidate and the opposition leader, and like this and the other. This is what he said.
In summary, and this only happens, by the way, in Kenya, the sitting deputy president became the candidate of the opposition, and the leader of the opposition became the candidate of government. And as things would be, the opposition candidate won the election and became president. And the president became the leader of the opposition party. That's the beauty of our democracy. And it only happens in Kenya.
Light moments there, yes. Mheshimiwa, what did you make of the president's speech in totality? Of course, he's your party leader, so you're going to have some flowery words, but also just be brutally honest.
Well, I think the president's speech was clear-cut, and he outlined the programs and the agenda of what we as legislators need to start working on, at least in the first 100 days. Yeah.
One of the things that he said, and he spoke of very clearly, was he would like to respect the principle of separation of powers, spoke about the judiciary. This administration of mine is going to obey the rule of law and any orders that come from the courts. Talk about the legislature. He says, this is a house where oversight takes place, and I'd like to submit my administration to oversight by these houses of parliament. He would like ministers to be answerable directly to parliament. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing.
Why?
Because what happens is we may have to change the standing orders to allow the ministers to come to parliament to be questioned. Because, for example, it gives me an opportunity as a legislator that I have a problem in my constituency, for example, water. So when the minister comes, I have, I can raise those questions and concerns about the people because I represent the people. So I need answers and I need solutions.
So the standing orders of parliament would be amended to allow for strangers to come to the house.
They are actually not strangers. They are government officials.
Yeah, but they'd be not members of parliament.
We've had this before. No, sorry. Yeah, there was no. We haven't had this before. Sorry.
There was a whole issue of separating the executive from the legislature and making sure that the executive does not come from the legislature or vice versa. So that's why we've been seeing members of cabinet being summoned by committees of parliament to appear before committees of parliament, and then those committees then come and report to the whole house. This is a task that the Committee on Transport was given. These are the questions that were raised. The Committee on Transport has sought answers from the executive, and this is a report that we bring. In some cases, they could come up with a recommendation and say, we don't believe that this CS is doing their job. Maybe you should even push for an impeachment of a certain CS. How different would that be? I mean, was that not working? Why do we have to have a member of parliament, a minister on the floor of the house and people just standing up to ask questions? 290 members, only 10 would ask questions anyway.
Well, Eric, previously before, when we had members of parliament who were also cabinet ministers, the same happened, So I think it's a good thing because it didn't work very well in the last few administrations. So I think for the cabinet secretaries to come to parliament, I believe it will change a lot. That's what I believe.
Okay. Even as we look at other issues that were discussed yesterday and things that we want to be done, one of the things that you suggested, before we get to that, one of the things that the president not suggested but ordered, that 300 billion shillings must be found within the current budget, right? And he said that wherever you're going to find it, find it. What you have to cut. Now, if you look at numbers, we know from the numbers already, 46% of recurrent expenditure comes from allowances. Government officials, allowances here and there, recurrent expenditure. And he said, find that money that is going to lead to cuts. And then it is upon Parliament to now say, we basically are giving or appending to this. Now, that means a cut in a lot of allowances. Would Parliament then take up that responsibility and legislate on the same?
Yep.
You will?
Indu. Yes. We have a problem, in my view. The economy is not doing so very well. And actually, you had the president speak yesterday. It is what it is, and that's the reality.
Okay.
Our total collection is about 2.1 trillion, which is only enough to pay debt and salaries. Everything else, we have to borrow. Okay? Now, if we have 2.1 trillion that we have collected, we are using for the recurrent expenditure, and how are we going to develop as a country? So these are the issues that we have to sit down in Parliament and find a framework so that the economy can at least peak
Okay.
Otherwise, if it continues, we are going to have a big problem.
If I can now, okay. So there's the realization that there's a problem, right?
There's
And,
a big problem.
right. And so the president has said, look, we're going to find this money from the budget. So those things that we are doing, which are absolutely unnecessary, are going to cut back.
That's right.
Would you then, as Parliament, also jump onto this bandwagon and say, this 5,000 shillings that we've been looking for as allowances for plenary sittings, also, okay, let's forget about that as well?
Well, we have no problem on that. If it is going to save the country, so be it.
Okay.
Yes.
Where do you think the money should come from? The National Treasury has been given the task by the President of finding 300 billion shillings. They will come to Parliament to rework the budget. When they come to Parliament, do you have some expectations of what you want to see being cut, being slashed in the national government, in the government's recurrent expenditure?
Well, of course, we have to cut costs in so many ways. The county governments, they take about 407 billion. We have the national executive. I think, to me, as a member of parliament, I think we have to sit down in the National Assembly and look for a framework or look for ways how we will, including ourselves, cut costs. Like, for example, my salary, if it means that they take 30% from my salary, to cut down and make sure the economy, then we will go for it. So I'm sure once the committees are set up in Parliament, when we go for the next sitting, hopefully very soon, then we will work on it. And I'm hoping that I will most likely be in the budget committee.
You want to be a member of the budget committee?
The budget committee, yes. So
okay.
Can I ask a question, perhaps, and make a suggestion while asking the question? Every year, the Auditor General comes up with an insight probe of how our ministries perform with the monies that they have been given.
Yes.
Now, the monies are given so that we can achieve certain things.
That's right.
Now, does Parliament sit and find out and determine whether everything that is reported by the Auditor General is in keeping with the expenditures that are presented? Ex-ministry is given 10 shillings, and they say they've spent the 10 shillings. Do you have a corresponding reality as to what it is that you are being told? Were the 10 shillings spent for what was purpose? And if it wasn't, where then did the money go?
Correct.
What was it spent on?
Yes.
Because when you talk about savings, sometimes the thing that we ought to be looking at is the wastages. Because yes, money is allocated, but it doesn't quite go to where it is now. By reducing what I am loosely referring to as wastages, you actually end up saving money, because you then can come to the conclusion, perhaps, that what you actually require to do this is this, not this huge amount we've been giving.
Correct.
So let's just give the amount that is required, and that other one can be reallocated elsewhere. Do you think Parliament can work on these audits? Because that work has already been done.
Definitely.
Because by doing that, you will be starting on a slate that you have a clear roadmap, and you can say, actually, this thing doesn't cost what we're told. It actually costs this.
Yes.
And so moving forward, this is what we can do. You think Parliament is capable of doing that?
Absolutely, yes. We'll give it a try.
And what would prevent them from doing it? Because
Under what circumstances would Parliament not do its work?
Yes. We have committees. For example, like the Committee of Transport and Infrastructure.
Yep.
It oversights. So I don't think, in my view, I really don't think it is going to be an issue. I think that can be done very well. That's right.
Do you think, Mheshimiwa, there's a possibility that this Parliament, with the majority Kenya Kwanza members in the National Assembly, can stand up to the President and the Executive and say, no, Mr. President, this is what you're bringing to the House.
Yes, definitely. Oh, yes.
Really?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
you seem very definite.
Yes.
To the point of being definitive. Why are you so clear? Because I like the clarity, but help us understand it.
No. You know...
My name is Muga.
No. Yes. Of course. I am very certain, personally, and very clear in my mind that I stand for what is right. And if, for whatever reason, we feel that the president has overstepped his mandate or is doing something that is not wrong, of course we have the opposition to to oversight on that. But as Kenya Kwanza, we will stand out. I will stand out and tell him, Your Excellency, Mr. President, this is wrong. We will not agree in totality. Yes.
You do know we are going to hold you to account for that. Huh?
Please do.
Well, I certainly am going to say.
Please do.
Mheshimiwa, I remember you and I had this conversation.
Please do, Muga.
There's something here, though. I like what you're saying, and that's what ought to be the case.
That's right.
The problem is that whenever people stand for what is right, they are seen as spoilers, people who are not playing ball, people who are not supporting a cause, whereas indeed they're actually helping. Somebody who tells a leader, this isn't the right path, isn't somebody who the leader should ignore. That's the person the leader should listen to. Because they're probably telling you something that would actually help you. I'm going somewhere with this. You see, I'm saying this. Huh? One of the things that we in the media sometimes do, we report things, we write things, and sometimes it's been argued we are unfair to legislators. It is argued we criticize them too much. And I think sometimes some of those things that people say may be true. And sometimes we go out of our way to paint a picture that may not represent the truth. For instance, I've heard it said that many people who chair these committees that have to deal with serious issues like infrastructure, energy, health, one ends up seeing these chairmen and leaders in those committees, very wealthy people over a period of time. I said, these are things people say. I haven't seen evidence to support it myself. But people say negative things. And unfortunately, in this country, when people say things, even if they are completely and purely imaginative, they tend to be believed. Now, this new parliament has an opportunity to change all these things.
That's
and
right.
to prove some of the things that we in the media say wrong and say, guys, you've got it wrong all along.
That's right.
This is really what we are. Let me ask the question, do you feel that this parliament is up to the task?
200%.
Okay.
Kabisa.
200%, Muga.
There's a controversy that you raised on social media the other day. You posted on your social media handle that, you know what, one of the things that you want to do when you go to Parliament and Parliament starts in session is you want to push for the introduction of a bill that taxes luxury items. And you started mentioning some of those luxury items, talked about like beauty products and such. Tell us about that. What exactly did you have in mind? What do you mean?
Well, boss, nowadays I have to hide my face, wear a mask, because the women out there, they're not talking good of me.
They're baying for your blood.
But there was a reason behind what you said.
What did you say? Let's start with what you said.
No, I only said that the government, like I am going to introduce a bill I'm going to introduce a bill that is going to tax heavily on the beauty products, like the makeup and all sorts of things, like the
hairpieces,
the
wigs and weaves.
The weaves, all those lashes and all those things, but heavily on especially makeup. Yeah.
Why?
They need to pay taxes.
But they do.
Let me explain to you something.
Yeah.
There was an issue with there's a business lady who passed away. I don't want to mention her name, from Lavington, who used to inject herself to lighten her skin, and she passed away. It's someone that
it was in the public domain.
Yes, I knew her personally. And you find some of these products are substandard. Many of the products that come in to the market are substandard. And I want it to be, I'm not saying that the ladies shouldn't use those products, but I want it to be very expensive for those substandard products.
Okay. Makes sense.
A lot of people are dumping You know, like for example, a makeup like MAC, or I don't know what you call MAC or whatever. There's a lot of fake of those things that is really, really affecting.
So there are
our
counterfeits
people.
that are finding their way into the market.
That's right. That's right.
But now you think that, or you propose that a way to dealing with these counterfeits is to raise taxes for these products.
That's right.
How does that deal with the counterfeit? Because you've uniformly applied the new tax, even on the genuine products. So someone would argue that just by raising the tax on the genuine products and making them more expensive, then that would even make it the counterfeits, which also become grey products, coming into the country through the back channels, cheaper and more accessible to the people. Which means that now people who were using the genuine products, they find them more expensive, and so they go to the black market and they find the cheaper counterfeit grey products in the market.
So if I may ask, Mheshimiwa, is your problem with the counterfeit product that's coming into the country
For beauty.
or beauty products, because many people are using them and we can get some added revenue from here? I mean, what exactly is the issue?
I really don't know. It's the counterfeit. I was just misquoted.
Okay.
Just the counterfeit.
It's a counterfeit.
It's the counterfeit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have absolutely no issues with
eyelashes and
no,
such.
no.
All right. So
You know, you're a public figure,
Yeah.
and you're known to also be associated with with beauty. So people would wonder, is this man fighting? Are you targeting anyone?
No. I'm not targeting anybody. It was just to answer Indu's question. It's just counterfeit. I was just misquoted.
Okay.
That's right.
What do you do? What were you doing before you joined Parliament, ZAHEER?
Just a hustler.
And what is that?
Well, I was doing business. I'm a contractor by, that's basically what I do. I do roads, those kind of things, yes. And of course, I do some consultancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you among those that the government owes? You know, there's 600 billion shillings of pending bills
Yes.
to contractors.
Yes.
You're a contractor.
Yes.
Are you in that bracket?
Yes, I am.
The unfortunate
I'm
bracket.
very, very bitter man.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So what do you think should happen to make sure that the government actually pays
I
these
think the
bills?
president made it very clear on the pending bills, and we are hoping that hopefully soon things will happen, and I'm sure something will happen, because there was a directive by the president.
It's not the first time, you know.
No.
this.
The
the former president issued this
That's the
directive. How
former
many times? We
president.
just counted like 6 times.
You know.
The last deadline was October 2020.
Yeah.
And that line
One.
went dead.
Yeah. This time, I think I have a lot of confidence in His Excellency the President William Samoei Ruto, and I think he means what he says. And let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. That thing is really, really bad, because, like, personally, I did a couple of projects in the county governments in different areas. I haven't been paid for the last 4 years, totaling to almost 600 million shillings. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what do they say?
Tunangojea pesa itoke
Mali pesa
treasury.
inatoka.
Tunangoja treasury. Pesa itakuja when they receive the expenditure. I don't know this. Some of them, they have to pay who they know and all sorts of things. And some are demanding.
And they don't know you, ZAHEER.
No, looking at the amounts of money, I picked up. I was paid maybe around 109 million, but in bits and pieces. I wasn't paid. So still, there's a lot pending. So it's not worth doing that business. It's just a waste of time and resources. For me personally, I am just very frustrated.
It's quite a lot.
It's a lot.
It's quite a lot.
It's a lot. Now you can imagine. There's some people who even died out of depression, out of pressure, and all sorts of things. Yes, I know of cases from some contractors who passed away, and I know of someone who she actually committed suicide in Kisii because she wasn't paid by the Kisii County government. So it's sad, but we hope this mess will be fixed very soon. Yeah.
Part of the role that you have as a member of the 13th Parliament is to make sure that the government does what it's supposed to do
That's right.
in paying these bills.
Yes.
Final question. Unfortunately, I'm always the one who has to do this this bit of asking those questions that people do not want to ask, but they are expected to be asked. Association of you and other businesses, gold. It's been in public. So I've got to ask, have you ever traded in gold?
He said he's a businessman. Gold is a commodity that businessmen trade in. Why aren't we asking him about diamonds?
Yes, Mulga, that's right.
Precious metal.
Precious metal, sapphire, uranium.
I'm sorry, Zahir. I mean, it's Nikazi.
I know. No comment.
Okay,
Good.
that's good enough. That's good enough.
Thank you.
Final message to the people of Nyaribari Chache.
My people, I love you guys so much. Nawapenda sana. I am in Nairobi. Hopefully very soon you will see me back home. Of course, I'm really trying to settle down and then, of course, go back to my constituency and whatever programs, plans, the manifesto, the agenda that I had promised them that I will do, I'm going to hopefully, inshallah, very soon implement them with the national government.
What's your promise to them? Should they feel that you're not doing what you said you would do and what they expected you to do, what do you tell them to do?
PO Box Nyumbani, 2027.
No mercy. If you
Ruthless,
don't
yeah.
deliver,
They know I will deliver. They know me.
You
They know
will.
I will deliver. I
If
got the
you
highest
deliver-
number of votes in Kisii County in the history since independence. I'm the member of parliament, the first member of parliament who got the highest number of votes from the constituency compared to others. Guys are getting 10,000 votes, 11,000. I got 32,000, you know. And the second guy got, I think, around 8,000, 9,000. So it was big. And the other guys have been getting 10, 12, 13,000. So
to whom much is given.
Much is
required.
Yes,
the expectations are too high, but
Yeah.
I'm up to the task.
Very good. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Asanteni sana. It was
And we want you
nice.
to come back.
Yes.
We want you to come back. I mean, let's keep having these conversations. Accountability to the people of Kenya. This is
Okay.
the one show that is going to be holding everybody accountable.
That's right.
We'll support you to do your job
Thank you.
by telling you the truth.
That's right.
Same message as you give to your party leader. We will support the Honorable William Ruto to
Please
do his
do.
job
Please do.
by telling him the brutal, honest truth all the time. Just reminding him his promises to the people of Kenya.
He will deliver. Don't doubt him. He will, I can assure you.
Asante sana.
Asanteni sana.
The Honorable ZAHEER JHANDA is the Member of Parliament for Nyaribari Chache constituency. Joining the National Assembly for the first time. In tray, it's full, but he says he's up to the task. We'll hold him accountable. Welcome him again and again to the show.